Welcome to Art's Place, conservative talk from a different view, from the Casablanca studio in Golden, Colorado. Hosted by Art Carlson. At 4'6", liberals fear him, and conservatives love him. He's definitely a giant among men. Now here's your host, Art Carlson.
Alrighty, welcome to another episode of Art's Place, conservative talk from a different view. We've got a great show today. We're going to be talking about a whole bunch of stuff. We're going to be talking about the CDC's mask mandates, 100 plus days of Biden failure. We're going to talk about rockets attacking Israel from Gaza and Lebanon. And also, there's something else that I added on there, but we'll figure it out. So sit back and enjoy, and let me bring up my hosts all the way from Muskogee, Oklahoma. It's Lloyd Mendenhall. Welcome, Lloyd.
Hey Art, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I got a little bit different background today. Got the downtown Denver and the
right
foothills there.
Foothills back there. Yeah.
So how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I've been busy this week. I did a little short live show from my cabin yesterday. Getting everything ready to. We're going to try and spend a lot more time up there this year. So, been updating my radio, getting batteries charged and stuff like that to do the Tiny Hawk.
There you go.
Got a couple other things, FPV related coming probably in the next couple of weeks, maybe. So we'll see. And, just doing that, waiting on some stuff that we've ordered to come in for the cabin. And then once we get up there, which we're going to go up there today, but I just got pressed for time and Judy's not really ready to jump up and go up there quite yet. So we'll go up there tomorrow and I'll do my show from the cabin tomorrow.
Awesome.
Barring any complications. So I did pretty good. I can't do it inside the cabin because the strength just isn't quite long enough. That's another thing. While we're up there, we're going to try and get our cable internet hooked up there in the cabin.
Cool.
So that way I'll have some. And they're getting ready to offer fiber to the house. So, I'll probably have to go with what they've got temporarily and then move to the fiber when they get it in. So,
well, at your age, you need the fiber, Lloyd.
Oh, I need fiber. Yeah, you don't know how bad that is. Yeah, some days, but.
Well, I had an interesting Friday evening. I came home from work to 6 police cars in my apartment parking lot, and
were they looking for your joke
here.
book?
Welcome. Just telling my story about what happened Friday night.
Were they after your joke book?
I was able to go into my apartment and drop off my my stuff. And a friend of mine from Oregon was going to take me out to dinner. And so I dropped off my stuff, got outside, and she was waiting for me. She's like, oh, what the heck is going on? Turns out they were there to serve a warrant to someone in the apartment behind me. So we went to dinner. We went to, I don't know if you know this place, Lloyd, Los Arcos.
Yeah, I think I do.
Yeah, it's on 80th, just east of Sheridan. Oh, the food was fantastic.
Oh, yeah,
Saw
yeah,
some
yeah.
old
yeah.
friends I hadn't seen in a long time. It was a lot of fun. Had a great dinner. Get back home. There is a command center set up, and the SWAT is there. Turns out the guy had hostages. He had a
Wow.
gun and a knife, and so they were trying to, get him out of there, and he finally let the hostages go, but he wouldn't come out. And evidently, he swallowed some drugs. So he decided to give up, and the ambulance came and took him away, and they finally took down the yellow tape. And so as I was going to my apartment, I clapped and said, "Good job, guys." And they liked that.
Yeah. They got a hard job to do, and
Yes, they do.
I figured when you said they're, a SWAT team in the raid, I thought they were there after your joke book, because some of your jokes are kind of criminal.
Right. They've been banned in several states.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I figured they that's where that little guy lives. We're going to go steal his joke book because some of them are just deadly.
Now, Art, do you know what the warrant was for originally?
I'm guessing drugs, maybe.
Drugs. Yeah. That's what I figured. I saw your pictures. I thought it's got to be a drug bust, and he was either trying to swallow evidence or off himself, one or the other, I guess.
Yeah.
Also, we've got in that same building, there's a guy with he's on the sex offender list.
Yeah.
Really? You have some great neighbors there, Art.
Yeah, I was going to say, high-class neighborhood there.
I didn't know I lived in the hood.
Yeah. Saying that though, Mike, you live in New York, in the New York State, and you guys have small neighborhoods, groups of people that they all migrate. You have your Hispanic neighborhood or whatever. You got the blacks, you got the Asians. A lot of. I grew up over there in that part of Westminster. I did not realize I actually grew up in a kind of a confined neighborhood. Most of us were German, and most of us were either Lutherans or Catholics.
Right.
I just never knew the difference. I just didn't, because growing up in it, and you just don't, and of course now everything's just so widespread and everything, but but you don't realize you live in such a closed community like that until you move away and you look back, and I used to think, well, what's this thing about the 5 boroughs up in New York City? I never understood that, and then you had you had your guys from Brooklyn, the Bronx, and then you had your Italian neighborhoods, you had your Irish, right, and I didn't realize Denver was like that until I moved away and looked back, looking back in time. It's not like that now, but it's just kind of, but growing up in the 60s, early 60s back there, that was that was the way things were, and you just didn't know it. Didn't think anything about it, and in some ways, go ahead.
Here in Syracuse, it was like the north side of town was always kind of a combination of German and Italian. There's German restaurants, Italian restaurants all over the place. The west side was Irish side of town, Tipperary Hill area, that kind of thing. And then there wasn't any other really specific. It was kind of just generic. And there was a traditional, black side of town. And then they put through a major interstate and displaced a lot of those people, and they all moved to another part, and that kind of became what was the ghetto, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, and that's actually where we lived. We happened to be. My dad had a bar there in 1960, and he opened it, and by the time 1975 rolled along, just about when it was ready to close, it was a beer joint, and it was straight out of like the movie Shaft or something like that. It was,
Right.
I mean,
Right.
Hollywood casting, you know, and
Yeah.
but yeah, you know, I kind of miss that those you know, that whole, you know, there's a Polish area. It's really every place divided up ethnically, whether it be, you know, the black people, Polish people, whatever, and even, you know, now it's kind of like the whole city's bad. It's just the typical Northeast
Yeah.
Rust Belt kind of thing, and you know,
Yeah. And even though it was a segregated community, it wasn't. I'm getting an echo here somewhere. Is that coming off of me? Okay. Anyways, I was getting an echo there. Must be in my head. Uh, nothing up there to keep it from echoing. But you know, yet even though it was segregated groups, yet when something happened major, we were either all, you know, Denverites or Coloradans or Americans. You know,
right,
and I mean, because in our area we had, you know, like I said, is predominantly German, uh, and predominantly either Lutheran or Catholic, and but we also had a lot of Japanese in our area, and you know, but there was no tension. You know, we just all, you know, seemed to.
yeah,
And I remember when Kennedy was killed, and uh, best friend I had, Robert Okagawa, uh, there in Denver, and he come in and he's just crying. I'm like, you know, he'd gone home for lunch. I had to eat out of a lunch pay. You know, it'd take too long to walk home and then walk back to school, and I wouldn't have time to eat. So, anyways, uh, he was crying. I said, "What's going on?" He says, "The president's been shot." And I'm going, "No, you must miss it." No, I saw it on TV, and he, within a few minutes, they made the announcement that John Kennedy has been killed, and that was like, but at that point, we were no longer Japanese, Irish, German,
right.
none of that. We were all Americans, and it didn't. I mean, you just saw, uh, you know, when they did the 21 gun salute for his funeral, they did one in Denver too. They out at the armory, they fired off some big cannons, and you could hear it all over Denver. And I remember that like it was yesterday, you know.
Right.
But
Yeah.
nowadays we're all mixed up and we're all fighting and we're all arguing, and yet there's groups that want to segregate themselves from the rest of us, and
Right.
but I don't know. I think they want to segregate us in a different way, though.
Right.
Yeah.
The thing is, I think it's a vocal minority that's saying that stuff. The average
Oh, yeah.
white person, black person, whatever person, Hispanic person
Right.
doesn't mind living with their neighbor, whoever they are, as long as they're good
Mhm.
people. And it's people who've got you know, skin in the game politically or money wise, who are trying to just divide and you know, cause tension with the country for political purposes. And
Yeah.
so, you know, because I lived in a black neighborhood, and there was some racial tensions at the time, but there wasn't a gun on each corner the way there is now, and things like that. And you know, you know, black friends, we'd play football together, whatever else. It just didn't matter for the
Yeah.
most part, you know. And but now it's like it's not even about race; it's about, you know, drug dealing, or now we've got this political crap in the
Yeah.
big cities, typically in the big cities. But I don't know.
Well,
I haven't.
That's it.
anyways,
I
Well,
haven't
let's
followed the
get
news
on
too much
to
this week, so got to
Yeah.
catch me up.
first topic. CDC just came out with the new mask mandates. They were saying that if you've gotten the vaccinations, you don't need the mask. However, businesses are still privately owned. They could still have their own rules. But retail stores, like grocery stores, are still going to require you to wear masks until down the road when they feel comfortable that they'll do away with the mask mandate. So, but here's the deal: Biden gave a speech last week, and you
Yeah.
got the vice president and the Speaker of the House and the president wearing a mask. There are more than 6. They've all had their shots. What the hell is going on? I mean, it was the biggest display of virtual signaling I'd ever seen.
Yeah. And then he takes this picture with Jimmy Carter and his wife inside the house, no mask.
Yeah.
And it was a strange looking picture.
That was creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
It
just
looked like he was
creepy.
like giant.
Right. Looked like a dollhouse or something, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Granted, the
Yeah.
Carters are well into the years and they had
Yeah, but
posture of
they haven't.
older folks.
Yeah, but they haven't shrunk 10 inches. That was, somebody screwed with some camera settings there or placement
Right.
or something.
Yeah.
It's just,
But then they walked outside the house and put their masks on. I mean, and then, now Biden's loosening up a little bit with the mask thing. Here in where I live, in Cuomoville, it's like grocery stores and all that. No masks. Don't worry about it. They don't check you. It's kind of the honor system. So I haven't gotten a shot yet, and I just waltz right in. Not that I go to the store that much. And matter of fact, I went yesterday and today to the state fairgrounds. It's not far, to try and get the Johnson & Johnson shot. And then I missed the time both times. Then today they didn't have it at all. I'm like, damn it. So I just want to get one and done and get it over with.
yeah.
But I'm in no big rush though.
I just got my second and final shot yesterday. I'm starting to feel better. Boy, I felt sluggish this morning. Kind of, foggy. But now I'm starting to feel better. Shoulder is feeling a lot better right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm just doing it to get my liberties back. It's if I get to go into an office or something like that, a dentist appointment next month, their license and stuff, they're going to have to enforce all that mask stuff. And it's like, I'm sick of the mask business. And now we're running across people who are so used to masks after over a year of this stuff, they don't want to take them off, even if they have the shot. It's a strange phenomenon.
Yeah, they've been conditioned.
I missed my mouth on that one. There's a hole in that bottle.
Yeah, well, you need a sippy cup.
I do. Ran down my chin there. Anyways, I started going into stores without my mask. I went into a couple of them, and it says at the front door, you need a mask to enter. So I put the mask on. I'd walk in. I'd look at everybody, and screw this, and pull it back off and stick it in my pocket. I actually saw people that were working there that were like they were vendors, for Lay's potato chips. I can't remember what he was stocking, but he was one of the vendors. He didn't have a mask on, and I've just seen so many people without the mask, and then I see the employees, they're wearing them down around their chins now, and because
wearing a mask.
Both my shots, they're wearing a mask. I actually went in with my mask on top of my hat, Yeah. Because you have to have on face coverings.
I don't have to wear it at work. That'd
Do
be
what?
nice.
Oh,
I, yeah.
You're
not wearing
required
it at work.
to wear them art at work for
Yeah,
now.
right now.
Yeah,
Maybe after now the governor has lightened up the rules, maybe the company will, um, will lighten up and not let us
Well,
work, not have to, not to make masks mandatory.
right.
I think the
And that's the
company.
thing.
Go ahead,
Go
Lloyd.
ahead. I
I
was
think
going
the
to say that's the
companies are
thing.
just.
You
I
go
think
ahead. I've
companies,
talked enough.
businesses, I think are just so afraid to get shut down.
Yeah.
They feel the hammer hanging right over them, and it's like we're going to err on the safe side, business wise. It's not got to do with COVID. It's got to do with not having a governor or health commissioner of the county, whatever, shut them down. I mean, man, it's survival after a year of this crap. And so, even though you've all been vaccinated, theoretically, nobody should have a thing to worry about, but businesses have to, cover their butt.
Yeah, it's all about liability. Everybody's afraid of being sued because somebody will say, I got COVID in your business. Well, how are you going to prove that?
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's he's talking about people getting used to wearing a mask. I went into the store, I don't know, earlier this week, and there's a young person there. Excuse me. And I said, "So, are you going to be so used to wearing the mask that you'll just wear it from now on?" And she says, "No." And neither are any of my friends. We all want the mask on, you know. So I said, "Well, that gives me hope for this next generation because they're not wanting to put up with the mask either." So yeah, uh, I think everybody's just tired of it. But I'm starting to see more and more people without the mask. I'm seeing people talking and visiting, and and it's to that point. There's going to be times where I might wear a mask, especially when I'm around people that
Mhm.
I'm not. I don't know whether they've, especially somebody who looks, they're coughing and wheezing and sputtering and spitting. Like, get the hell away from me. Let me put my mask on and my, hazmat gear. you know?
I actually just got sick Wednesday night. I came down I went to bed, started getting chills. By 2:30, I woke up sweaty and shivering and stuff. But it was, I went into the doctor the next day and he did the COVID swab, went way up there, both
Yeah.
nostrils, and came back negative for all that stuff. It's just a stomach bug. Within 24 hours, I felt 90% better, and I'm pretty much better.
Yeah.
So thank God it was just that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it
But,
was about a week ago, the CDC said that even if you got the shot, you still need to wear a mask. And I think they got beat up over that in the public opinion. And I think that's why they changed it, which is
right.
good.
Yeah, because they can't really say what metric changed, you know what I mean, in order to cause that change, other than, okay, we'll just change it then. What
Yeah.
number was hit that was
You
needed.
mentioned Biden not wearing his mask and then wearing his mask and back and forth. Well, he come out and said it's okay not to wear a mask in the public, in open areas, and he did his last little update. Well, and then he turns around and he's got the mask on while he's doing the press conference, and everybody out in the room has got their mask on. They've all had the shots, and he's in a room full of people that, you know, it'd be a snowball's chance in Hades that he'd catch COVID from any one of them.
Yeah.
And yet he puts on a mask. And they said, well, aren't you kind of, because you're saying we're trying to get back to normal and and yet you're wearing a mask. One of the reporters asked that. So, well, we're still waiting for clarification from CD. Anyways, he just kind of evaded it. But then they asked one of his press people in, I don't know, like Meet the Press or something, really hammered him on it. And, I forgot who the reporter was. It's somebody from CNN, I think. And as soon as this guy says, well, you're sending mixed signals. We can't have that because people aren't going to know what to think. The next day they came out and said, oh, yep. You don't have to wear a mask now. It's like I read somewhere where somebody said, I can't remember who the reporter was, says he's the one who's actually setting policy for Washington for the White House now. If he asks a question, and every time he's asked a question the next day, oh yeah, we're going to do it this way. It's like, so the
Yeah.
CNN reporter is running the White House, not Joe Biden.
Right. And when the CNN reporter pushes them on something, that's because they weren't asking anything. The first few months there, and for them to be pushing because they got nothing to talk about other than patting Biden and Harris on the back, but they need some tension, so the ratings must be down.
Well, I do know that the
things are
sales
going terribly for CNN right now. Their ratings is in the toilet. But Lloyd, you segued into our next topic. We're past 100 days of Biden, and everything has fallen apart. We've got 4% inflation, which is almost tripled from where we were, and we've got this nation is still divided. He said he was going to, unite the country when everything he did is dividing the country, and oil prices are going up. Not all of it is his fault. It's that Colonial Pipeline Company had a virus attack where they had ransomware, and now we've got the Middle East on fire again. It's like it's just going to hell in a handbasket already. I don't know if we could. The next 3 years are going to be hell.
Art, I think you can place all of that at the feet of Biden. Trump's president, none of that stuff happens. The pipeline does not get ransomware. The Middle East would not be on fire. Oil prices would not be up, gas prices. China would not be acting the way that they are in the Pacific. None of this stuff. Right now they see weakness, and a lot of people are making their move. And, I literally think if it's true that ransomware came out of Russia, that didn't happen without Putin's go ahead. And
he's getting he's probably getting a piece of the pie there.
Right. And they took how much was it they took? Like $5 million or something like that?
I think it was $5 million.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is kind of
chump change. They paid it.
Right. But it's not that big of an amount of money when you're talking about the whole Eastern Seaboard getting fuel. So it's almost like, was that just kind of a poke to see how our reaction's going to be? Not so much the money.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with the money. I think it had to do with see how can they disrupt our economy, disrupt our oil supply, what the effect. They just found out by that one hack that they can hack that system, and they can shut down the eastern part of the United States, the southeastern part of the United States, and they can just shut down the gas supply. And you think about it, that's going to make gas prices go up, oil prices will go up. Russia's going to make money off of the inflated oil prices now because they ship a lot of oil. Yeah, that was strictly for testing our system and disrupting our economy. I mean, it was just it had nothing to do. They could care less about the money. They really could. But the other thing is they shouldn't have been allowed to hack it, because if that's what controls that much fuel in that part of the United States, why hasn't the government made sure that these private entities have software that keep this from happening? Or why didn't they step in and say, hey, let us help you and get rid of these bad guys? Instead, well, it's a private entity. They're going to have to deal with that on their own.
Yep.
Right.
So
I think that should be a policy to announce that, right up to saying it, that anyone found is going to be assassinated who, interrupts our infrastructure, our critical infrastructure. Just you'll be disappeared or found dead somewhere, and we won't even announce it. So because otherwise, they're going to look. What did Biden say? We're going to look for them and go after them to the extent of the law. I mean, come on, they're in Russia.
Yeah, there's no extent of the law there, and this, as you said, this would not have happened under Donald Trump, because he'd have done that. He wasn't going to put up with it. And as you said, nobody tried this crap while he was. It's like, hey, folks, are you missing Donald Trump now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know,
not
CNN
only that, but the gas station owners, they're under the thumb too, because they can't raise their gas prices. They'll be labeled as gougers.
Price gouging. Yeah.
And that's why there's no gas, because they didn't raise the price high enough to discourage people from hoarding. Have you seen some of the crazy shit going on? People filling up plastic bags, garbage
like
bags, and those plastic bins. I'm like, holy crap, what the hell?
Well, they never found a way to make a shortage of stupid,
Yeah, that's true.
So,
that's a good point because the evolutionist and the creationist have always argued over evolution, survival of the fittest. That just goes to show you, evolution is false science. Just look at all the stupid people that's been allowed to breed for the last 50 years, and they're still out there. Nope. They're still there. Evolution is a false science.
That's right.
If anything, we've been devolving,
Yeah, exactly. We're going back to the Cro-Magnon man,
Right.
Hey, Thelma Lou, you got any more trash bags? We need to get some old gas.
Yeah, well, that happened back east. I guarantee it didn't happen in Arkansas and Oklahoma, because, we don't have a gas shortage. Yes.
Yeah. And they,
we have our
getting
own
it back up and
refineries.
running. The infrastructure is there, and supposedly these ransomware people usually do honor the ransoms, believe it or not. From what I understand.
Yeah.
But they need to shore that up. If it was a phishing thing, somebody clicked a link on an email, something like that. It could be, how do you tap into the system? It's easy to do. We get them all the time. Something from your bank, emergency, needs attention. Click this link. Of course, you just delete it.
Right.
And but a buddy of mine works in an insurance company, Blue Cross Blue Shield locally, and the company tests them. They'll send them emails that look like they're from outside the company, and if they click on them, they get a talking to.
Yeah. I always check to make sure that I see where they're coming from, because a lot of times where they come from, you can see, getting that echo again. Anyways, a lot of times you can see where they're actually coming from by clicking the name, and it'll say undisclosed. You'll see that there's 20 undisclosed recipients. Well, if it's to me, it better not be something like that. It better not be going to 20 other people.
Yeah.
And that's where you can usually.
Or the spelling will be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's telltale signs, but still, I'll just, even if it looks totally legit from my bank, say, I'll delete the email and go to the bank website myself or call someone there and check
Yeah,
it out.
I
'Cause
do the same
don't
thing.
trust it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and with the whole COVID shot thing, I've been doing a wait and see thing on that because I'm curious to see how well it actually works in the real world. Because they just announced locally that a bunch of the New York Yankees who were vaccinated just came down with the coronavirus. 8 players or 8 people involved with the organization. That's a pretty high rate and of failure of the vaccine. And I'm going to see if this stuff really works.
Well, they couldn't blame it on the catcher because he was the only one wearing a mask.
Right. Right.
I don't know where I heard that. I
Right.
heard that the other day.
Right.
It's like,
Someone did
I
comment.
stole that joke.
That's Art's job. He usually steals the jokes.
Yeah, I know. I thought I'd beat him to the punch. I didn't know if he had heard that one yet, so I thought
No, I haven't, but that's
you
good.
had heard
That's
it.
good. Yeah.
Okay.
But
All right.
and it's true. Who did else too? Bill Maher, the guy from Politically Incorrect. He actually just got COVID, I guess, and he
Did
fully vaccinated. So who knows?
It says it's only 95% efficacy rate. That doesn't mean it's 100%.
That's true.
There's still a little. It's kind of like Dumb and Dumber. How much of a chance do I got? He goes, yeah, only 5%. Yeah, so I do got a chance.
I'm answering Mel here. Actually, yeah,
Hey,
Mel, we were at the cabin yesterday. We'll be doing my show from there tomorrow, but today we stayed in because we had to come back in town to pick up some stuff. So, yeah, that's why we're not at the cabin. We'll be doing it. I discovered though these lights, they really do a pretty good job because I did this live thing on with my phone outside the cabin yesterday. Like, oh my God, do I look rough? I mean, like, where'd all them friggin' wrinkles go? I didn't have my lighting, and I look, yeah. Actually, I look like I really do when I look in the mirror, but at least, with this fancy stuff here, I cover some of that up. Anyways, we digress.
Oh.
All right, so now the Middle East is on fire again. First, it was rockets from Gaza, and now we've got rockets from Lebanon going on. And the Iron Dome can only knock out 90%, I think, of those rockets. So there's some getting through.
Yeah.
I mean, none of this crap happened when Trump was president. And so Biden decides, we're going to, give money to Iran. Where the hell do you think that money's going? It's going to buy weapons to give to the Hamas and Hezbollah. And, that's why you got crap going like this. People are giving, let's give them humanitarian aid. What do you think they're doing with that? They're selling it to buy weapons. Their government does not give a crap about their own people. And these people are starving. And they're pretty much hostages by their own government to start shit with Israel. And it's just nuts. It's just nuts. But the cool thing that happened the other day was Israel made an announcement they were about to start a ground invasion. And all of a sudden, the Hamas guys came out of the tunnels. And that's when Israel just blasted them with bombs from their jet fighter.
That was some slick maneuvering. Israel's a smart bunch of people. I knew a couple of the IDF guys that,
and they managed to take out some of the higher ups in Hamas there,
Yeah.
Yeah,
which is
they got
good.
some top people. They said they
Right.
got
Keep
like they've
them.
got
Don't they even have some bombs that actually just drop like pellets or bricks on the roof just to let them know, like, we got you, we know where you are, kind of thing. And
yeah they've got all sorts of bombs and stuff that they can do just about anything with. Yeah,
right, and that's
and
just the stuff we know about.
yeah, yeah,
But and again, this is another one of those common themes seems today. If Trump's president, this stuff isn't happening,
Yep.
and because Biden has pretty much basically said, Israel, you're on your own,
Mm-hmm.
and it
Mm-hmm.
seems, and it's you know Israel was put there in after World War II in 1949, even though that was their original homeland, but I mean,
Mm-hmm.
on their own ever since. If it wasn't for us, um, they'd have been just run over.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And this all
The
started over a land dispute in Jerusalem, where after they lost Jerusalem to the Arabs in 48, and then they took it back in 67. The
right,
original owners, they're trying to, say, hey, we own this land. But what they did is they went through the judicial process. They didn't, use force to force out those Arabs. So, and then it turns out those Arabs who had the land way back when sold it to some other people. And now those people they're SOL because
yeah,
they lost in their lawsuit, and that's Hamas's excuse for starting this whole thing.
yeah. And the whole Jerusalem thing goes all the way back to uh, the beginning of Israeli statehood and the way the British set it up. Instead of turning Jerusalem over uh, to the uh, Israelis, they left it for the Arabs, and it come down to they had a ceasefire that they had to because there'd been fighting. And here's the other thing: the Jews were not allowed to own weapons, but the Arabs could, according while they were under British jurisdiction at the time of the handover. So they had to smuggle in guns and stuff like that in order to stay alive. And as soon as the British stepped out, uh, they set up there was a ceasefire, and they had to get where it happened like at noon of whatever day it was, and they had to get to their territory, whatever piece of land they were going to claim. That's why Jerusalem has been divided, because they got into half of Jerusalem and were able to. And it was an American who actually did that. If you've ever seen Cast a Giant Shadow with Kirk Douglas, uh,
Oh, I haven't.
that tells that story.
Seen
Yeah,
that one.
you'll need to watch that one. It mind you, it's dramatized for
Right.
it's a 1950s 60s movie. Uh, so it's that big, uh, those big productions like Ben Hur and all those movies. It's one of them big grand
Mm-hmm.
extravaganzas, but it really tells a lot of the detail. And then you go back and read the story about it. And
Mm-hmm.
he was actually an American Army officer who went over there as he actually was a Jewish lawyer in New York. Well, he was a lawyer, and he'd been an Army officer, and he just happened to be of Jewish descent. Wasn't practicing or anything else, but because of, they kind of said, why don't you go over and check it out? And once he got over there and found out what was going on, he's the one who helped uh, the Jews get Jerusalem,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and they what they had to go through just to get their people in place, and they got them there by 6 o'clock the next morning, and then at noon, uh, they took over, and he never got to see it. He got killed that morning by his own people because
Friendly fire
they
or
had it.
just turned on him?
Yeah, well, if they had a change. There's some controversy about it, but they had a changing of the guard, and he'd gone over to. In this version, he goes over to see his mistress, on the other side of the camp, and then he comes back. Now, that's not the reality of the story, but he was wandering
Right.
through, and he was called on it. He didn't speak Hebrew, and the guard didn't speak English, and he was
Oh,
wearing a white robe because it was his sleeping gown, and he looked a lot like an Arab, and he didn't speak Hebrew, and they shot him, or
Wow.
the guard did, which you know, but he was the first general of the Israeli Defense Force, and he was an American.
now
Grew up
I've
in New
seen
York.
Exodus.
Yeah, that's another good one if you want to. But Cast of Giant Shadows, one you need to see.
Okay, I'll have to check that
Yeah,
one.
it's a good one to see. Like I said, there's
Mhm.
some dramatization, but it tells a lot about our participation and the way the British did the Jews in that part of the country. Of course, they were
Mhm.
divided too. The Jews were divided as well. You know,
Mhm.
you had the Zionists that wanted Israel, and then you had the ones that just, hey, this has been Palestine since the day of the Roman occupation. Let's just leave it alone.
Mhm.
Right.
So
Yep.
Well, you could take the whole world and redraw the map of, if you want to, from who took what from whom, or
right.
what was set up by the British Empire or whatever, the Roman Empire or whatever, you know.
I've been
So
blaming Queen Victoria for all this crap going on over the last 50 years. It's all her fault. She could have, maybe she should have remarried and uh, she should have married Mr. Brown or married that
Yeah, Mr.
Scotsman.
Brown. Yep.
Yeah, should have married that Scotsman, and because he had
Mhm.
some cojones on him, and maybe then they would have ruled the empire a lot longer. But
yeah,
It's true. Who knows? Mhm.
yeah,
wow.
Also, big news this week: Liz Cheney is out of leadership.
oh, bless her heart.
Oh, bless her heart. Yep. She just would not let the whole Trump thing go. She just and I don't blame the leadership for wanting to remove her because she was being a distraction, and part of leadership is to raise money to defeat Democrats, and she was just not doing it. She was just, kept going on and on about Donald Trump, saying, I don't want that man anywhere near the White House ever
What
again.
is her What is her problem with Trump?
I don't know. I
Well,
think
she's part of
she,
the establishment. She's a Cheney.
right,
She's
She's
a
a
Cheney. Well, that's
leftover
true
from
too.
the Bushy.
Cheney Bush clan,
Yeah.
and they were all real tight. And boy, I'll tell you, I saw a clip of her the other day after they gave her the boot, and she still's going on and on as if like she didn't get the message. Like talking about Trump, it's like, Trump is kind of still the head of the party in the sense
Mhm.
of that's who people, want the most. And he's going to start doing his rallies again, things like that to
Yeah,
raise money. And she just won't let it go. It's like
Mhm.
best thing she could do is just shut up. And,
yeah,
but she seems like, I heard somebody say she just seems like a bitter woman for whatever reason
Mhm.
about Donald
yeah.
Trump, you know?
I've never understood what her bitterness was based off of.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because maybe she's mad because Trump got the nomination over
Jeb
Bush's
Jeb
Bush.
Bush.
brother, Jeb,
Yeah.
and because she was promised, maybe she was going to be the first woman vice president under Jeb Bush.
Right.
You
Or
know,
Yep.
Secretary of Defense like her father
Secretary of
was.
Defense is
Yep.
yeah,
Mhm.
Secretary
Or
of State,
then Vice
whatever. Yeah,
President too.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's true.
She
That's
but
she could bring gravitas.
yeah.
yeah, and I think her hopes were dashed when Jeb got, because Jeb started out strong. I mean, right in the beginning, he was kind of like, "Oh, we're going to have another." But see, I've had problems with Dick Cheney. I mean, all the way back to the beginning of this. He was hired before uh, George W. was even elected. He was hired to help find the right candidate for vice president. Well, one of the things about a vice president, in my opinion, he needs to be young enough to pick up the mantle. Because if the president gets 2 terms, then it's a void and there's a power vacuum there. Dick Cheney wasn't young enough to do that. And the fact that he chose himself to do it, that was just, that's when I started having problems right off the bat with the Bush presidency. And then as I felt that going after Saddam Hussein at the time was a waste. I mean, he might have been an SOB. He might have been threatening Bush's daddy. But at least there was some control in that part of the country for a little while. Kept Iran in place, And I've been watching this go on for 20 years now. And it's just been, it seems like the Bushes started really screwing things up, when George W. got elected. And it just has gone downhill ever since, especially for the Republicans. As you go back to the contract with America, man, the Republicans was strong at that point.
Right.
And then we kind of, petered out.
We kind of lost our way.
Yeah. And then you get the Bushes in there, and George H.W., God rest him, he wasn't really, he was never a Ronald Reagan. He could never be a Ronald Reagan.
Right.
And he didn't like Ronald Reagan. He didn't like Reagan. He campaigned against him for that spot. And
isn't he the one who coined the phrase trickle-down economics? George H.W. Bush?
No, I think that was
Ronald Reagan.
The media came up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they were touting supply side economics.
Right.
And so the media started a narrative, trickle down economics. And they all poo-pooed it, saying, "Oh, it's not going to help the lower people," and blah, blah, blah. Because, a lot of those reporters, they're all, socialists. They're Democrats.
Socialists,
and they all, they hated the Reagan tax cuts that gave us a killer economy that lasted for 20 years. And then when Bush finally got elected, we had a good economy up until we got attacked by terrorists. And that put a damper on air travel. And then we started to recover. And then we had the housing bubble. And that wrecked the economy, and that brought in Barack Obama in.
Yeah.
Then we had nothing but just, little teeny tiny recovery. And it was a crappy economy the whole 8 years. I made more money under Donald Trump than I did the whole 8 years of Obama.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
And Obama really
put our lessons. Like right now, I hear commercials for mortgages, 100% mortgages, no payment, no down payment, and it's like that. That seems to be the same sort of thing that set up the 2008 housing bubble.
Yeah.
And
Matt,
here
we
we
have
go.
no leadership in this country.
What, Lloyd?
I said we have no leadership in this country now. They're just going back to old policies that didn't work to begin with, because that man can't have an original thought.
Right. And he, to be honest with you, I mean, all politics and joking aside, he is literally asleep at the wheel. I mean, the guy is not capable of being there, and it's really it's a national security issue. On a personal level, you could call it elder abuse or whatever, but it's us that it matters to, and our nation, and our for China and Russia and the Iranians, the North Koreans are all watching right now, saying if we're going to make a move, we're going to make it now.
Yeah, we've seen the pipeline ransomware thing. That's out of Russia.
Yep.
We got this Middle East thing going. I'm waiting for the next shoe to drop. That's North Korea.
Keep an eye on Taiwan.
There?
Right.
Yeah, well, that's true too. Yeah.
Because the the Chinese are already having incursions in the South China Sea. What they're doing is they're making man-made islands, and their excuse is, oh, well, we need ports for the fishermen. And then it turns out some of the fishing boats are actually not fishing boats; they're military boats.
Of course. Oh no, they're fishing boats, Art.
Yeah.
Well, hey,
I don't mind those depth charges. We got fishing rods and nets out the back. Yeah.
Right.
I watch this. We watch this show out of Australia, and those guys are always, they're warships. They're small.
What, frigates or corvettes?
Yeah, frigates. Yeah, they're like a frigate. But when they ain't chasing down the bad guys, they're they're casting they're got their poles off the side and they're fishing. When they got free time, they pull into some small island, get in their small inflatables, and go out there and fish off the shore or fish. Yeah, they're fishing boats. You can fish out of one of those boats as good as you can any other.
Right.
Well, they're pissing off the Filipinos, because that's a lot of that area is Philippine fishing grounds. Vietnamese, they're not happy about it, and also Australia, because that's where they do their trading with, and
yeah. Right now, Australia's. I've been seeing a little bit of scuttlebutt. They're getting ready to. They don't think they're going to get a nuke dropped in their backyard, but the threats have been made that they may drop a short range ballistic missile coming out of China into Australia.
Yeah. When something like that happens, then we got some serious problems.
And we have nobody in the position of power to lead this country. I mean, so what we got Biden, he has no clue. He's lucky if he can put his depends on front.
He
front
puts
ways,
his depends on one leg at a time.
Yeah, but he doesn't know if he's got them on frontwards or backwards. In his case, or inside out. Then we got Kamala. She's missing in action. Not that there's, when we got used to Pence, who was a very active, very strong vice president. He really was right up front about, and Trump made him that way. That was probably the most active. Last time I seen a vice president that active, it was Spiro Agnew, and he was arguing with the press on a daily basis. They were getting in classic fights. You want to see some good press vice president fights? That's the guy to go watch. He could tear. They tore each other up, but we haven't had a vice president like that since. And then so you got Kamala, and then what? If you take out those two, we got Nancy. I mean, good God. I know she's from the grape country and they raise raisins there, but God, she looks like one of the raisins from back in the 80s, I heard it through the grapevine. I could see her doing that.
Right.
She'd fit right in. No claymation necessary.
That woman is bizarre. And she wasn't bizarre 40 years ago. She actually was for strong borders and everything. But man, she went off the off the wall. I mean, I guess I don't know if California does that to you or what, or just, power, whatever it is. But if she held the positions that she held, say back in the 80s or early 90s, she would call herself an extreme, a right-wing extremist right now, and she's changed so much.
Yeah.
But
Well,
Yeah,
she's
that's
letting some
because the
snot-nosed
party
little.
has gone so far to the left. It's just crazy.
yeah,
You know?
Yeah. Well, they've got some snot-nosed little uneducated barmaid up there that's running the place. You know, Cortez. Or Casio
Oh,
Cortez,
and
whatever
she's
the hell
got
her name.
Chuck Schumer scared half to death. That's why
Yeah,
Chuck
he.
Schumer went from being a moderate. Now he's a radical because
Yeah.
he doesn't want to be primaried by her.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's the whole thing. Basically they allowed the kids out to play. She's a junior congressperson, and she should be sitting at the little kids' table, not up at the big table with the adults. And they allowed that, and it's their own fault. So yeah, probably
Yeah.
need to get rid of Schumer and Pelosi, but God, really,
Right.
people
She
like
does sound like a high school ninth grader when she talks, or maybe at best like a freshman co-ed at college. I mean,
yeah,
really sounds like a child. And
and she makes no sense.
right,
It's just like
She sounds like a valley girl. Well,
right,
yeah,
like,
exactly, yeah.
and
yeah,
And
it's weird.
but she's never been taught American history. She's never been taught political history. She's been taught the socialism bull crap that you need to get yourself elected so you can have them rallies and get up and say, hoo-yah, we're going to take care of y'all.
Yep.
You know,
Free ice cream for everybody.
that's it.
Mhm.
right.
Well, who's going to pay for the ice cream? Oh, that's racist. You can't ask that.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah,
hopefully,
the
even
rich
New York
don't
City
pay
will
their
get their
fair
act
share.
together.
And remember, we only serve chocolate or chocolate vanilla twist. We do not serve plain white ice cream. That's racist.
Ooh. Then we got the strawberry.
Well, that's for the, those that don't identify as
Oh,
chocolate
that's
or
the
chocolate twist.
binary flavor.
That's the binary flavor. That's right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't tell me what flavor it's non-binary. Oh
Yeah.
no.
Non-binary. Yeah.
We can't say mothers anymore. We say birthing parent or birthing
What a
person.
Man.
Friggin' But
Oh,
you
wow.
notice it was funny that the president mentioned Mother's Day, even though he talked about mothers and how strong they are and stuff. And yet,
Right. They forget themselves. There's too many crappy things to keep straight, especially for Biden.
vanilla should be less white, Chris says.
Right. You got to get
Nice
French
break,
vanilla.
Chris.
I almost choked on that. Yeah, you know how the French are.
Right.
French, yeah.
Man.
That's Moroccan vanilla now.
Oh man. Well,
Well, guys, we
Yeah,
did
we've gone downhill.
We're a little over an hour, and we covered a lot of stuff. Boy, that hour went by fast.
yeah.
Yeah, it did.
Alrighty, so any last things, Mike? Let's go with Mike.
No last things. Just I'm just hoping to have both personally and nationally to have a smooth week. I mean, like you guys, I'm kind of still just afraid like they're going to drop something else on us, some other political bomb, or with the whole, we're moving in the right direction now with the CDC relaxing some of the rules, but all of a sudden are they going to yank it out from under us for some reason or other, some other national emergency, but I'm afraid of that. But at least here, even in New York State, not not the city as much, but things are easing up a bit. So I'm kind of glad of that. So I'm trying to be
All right,
positive.
Lloyd?
Well, I'm with Mike, man. I don't know what's coming next, but I'm hoping that clearer heads will prevail. And that's it. And the other thing is I'll be doing my show tomorrow from the cabin. So other than that, I'm just like, what can we say politically about this country? We're screwed.
Yeah.
Those are my final thoughts.
Sometimes
All
you
right,
got
everybody in the chat, thank you for coming by, and have a great week. God bless, and catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Later, everyone.